Welcome to the 5th episode of Ultimate Overview, a show where we go over each item in Fortnite and explain its strengths, weaknesses, and its role in the game today. My name is Jackson, and in today's episode, we're going to be talking about one of the best common rarity items of all time, grenades. Like all of our entries so far, grenades were added in the preseason during update version 1.6. Coming in common rarity only, grenades served as, well, grenades. You throw them, you wait 3 seconds, and they explode. On launch, grenades dealt 100 damage to players and 450 damage to structures, though the structure damage was quickly nerfed down to 375, meaning that 2 grenades was all it took to take an opponent down. However, what kept grenades from being overpowered was their limited availability. Grenades only came in stacks of 3, and while they could stack up to 10 and be obtained through floor loot, you would often need to throw more than 3 grenades per fight since their bounciness often meant that they missed. Plus, if you really wanted to use a grenade in a fight, the grenade launcher, while hard to find, dealt higher damage and used rocket ammo, meaning you only had to find one spawn of it. A potential benefit of the grenade was the ability to crit, though this was removed at the start of Season 3. Grenades would continue to remain as a mostly unused item until Season 7, being vaulted for the first time in update version 7.40. They wouldn't be gone for long though, being unvaulted in Season 9 and sticking around in Season X. Chapter 2 Season 1 saw the rise of grenades as a viable, deadly strategy, especially in competitive. This was due to the popularity of the 65-meter nade strat, which was pretty simple to pull off. Essentially, you would mark an opponent's box, make sure you were 65 meters away from your mark, and throw the grenades right where the color of the mark would disappear. At this distance and angle, the grenades would be airborne for exactly 3 seconds, meaning that they would instantly detonate upon reaching the box. Coupled with their high stack size, high damage to players and structures, and commonality due to a highly simplified loot pool, these factors made grenades incredibly overpowered for dealing with players boxed up in the mid and end game. Seeing how insufferable grenades were, Epic reduced the max stack size of grenades from 10 to 6 and reduced their spawn rate, bringing them back down to a more reasonable level. Nade stacking was still a thing after this change, but it became much less practical to do so, especially with new items added during Chapter 2 like crash pads and flare guns that made carrying around a stack of grenades almost pointless. Grenades would remain in the game for a long time, all the way up until Chapter 4 Season 2 is famous for its incredibly fun loot pool. The Havoc Pump, Kinetic Blade, ODM gear, and Overclock Pulse Rifle dominated the meta and really elevated the season to one of the best of all time in my personal opinion. However, something I don't think anyone was complaining about was how overpowered grenades were. There were so many better items to carry other than grenades, and yet during a hotfix in update 24.40, grenades were nerfed from 375 structure damage to only 75, and 100 player damage to only 40. This meant that it now took 5 grenades, almost a full stack, to eliminate a player. Now, I understand why they did this. Merging the competitive and casual loot pool with the addition of rank meant some things would have to be nerfed, but they could have just easily vaulted grenades instead of nerfing them. Grenades would only remain in the game for one more season, being vaulted for Chapter 4 Season 4. They wouldn't be gone long though, returning in Season OG without the nerfs of Chapter 4 Season 2. Unfortunately, these grenades are not available in creative, meaning we're stuck with this crappy version to play around with. On the tier list, I'm going to put grenades in D tier. Of course, these are the Season OG grenades because the current creative grenades would get an immediate F tier. It's just really not viable to nade stack, even in modern day. It's almost always better to carry some sort of other explosive item like clingers, C4, dynamite, or to just carry a mobility item like shockwave grenades or even impulse grenades or shadow bombs. I mean, grenades are common rarity for a reason. They're alright, but nothing super special. Anyhow, if you all enjoyed everything this video had to offer, consider subscribing because it helps out a lot. The next video in this series is going to be going over the grenade launcher, so stay tuned for that soon. I've been Jackson, and this was Ultimate Overview. Thanks, guys.
Doggy wanted to sleep with Froggy, and she snored, snuffle, snuffle, wheeze all night long. But just before the sun rose, Doggy licked Froggy's face.
Essentially, you would mark an opponent's box, make sure you were 65 meters away.
Polly, and then everyone laughed.
Nade stacking was still a thing after this change, but it became must.
And that was Froggy gets
However,
Froggy.
something I don't think
Isaac
anyone
Roberts,
was complaining about was
by
the next
Jonathan
video in this
Franzen,
season.
illustrated
Chapter
by
4 Season 2 is famous for its incredibly.
read that name.
Chapter 2 Season